How's it going, everybody? It's Patil Fam, and we are back with another preseason FPL video. And today we're looking at the fixtures which were announced earlier last week. I believe it was on the Thursday. We're going to be taking a look at the fixtures and all that involves with it. We have the fixture ticker from Fantasy Football Scout, so make sure to check them out. Link is in the description below for that. We're going to see who has good fixtures to start, who has some bad ones, what the final day of the season is going to look like, as well as all the kind of intricacies for the crucial games versus the teams that are going to be either fighting it out at the bottom or the teams that are going to be scrapping it out at the top for the top 4 places. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. PilotFlame226 on Twitter and Twitch. Make sure to check that out as well. And without further ado, let's get into it. So this is the fixture ticker from Fantasy Football Scout. We're going to run through each team pretty briefly and kind of get a gist of what they are looking like at the start of the season. And then we'll sort it by the difficulty overall fixture-wise, because there's different ratings that you can change here in the Fantasy Football Scout members area, where you can say like Man City, oh no, it's a little bit easier fixture than that, or Arsenal's much more difficult away from home, or whatever it may be, which is quite nice to do. So we got the fixture ticker up on the screen. This is the first 6, and it's just ordered alphabetically. So off the start, Arsenal players were very useful for us last FPL season. The likes of Martinelli, especially in my team, Saka as well. Jesus, a lot of managers went with from the start because of his just cheap pricing. So with Forest at home, Crystal Palace away, Fulham at home, especially in the first 3, that looks to be a good run to start off with. I think that could be quite good. There's going to be at least one Arsenal midfielder probably in every draft, I would think, whether it's Martinelli or Saka or whoever. I think that could be quite crucial, but their prices are definitely going to go up from what they were last season. Martinelli, I think, came in at like 6 million, 6.5 million, something like that. Saka was pretty cheap as well. Odegaard was 6.5 million, I think, to start, and he was brilliant last season as well. So I can definitely see there being some price hikes there. They'll probably be in and around the 8 to 9 million midfield bracket, which will put them in just under the premium cost. So maybe we might only be able to get 1, maybe 2 if you stretch the budget, or you sacrifice maybe some premium defenders or one of your potential premium assets that is captainable for the start of the season. Aston Villa, okay fixtures, bit of middling ground here. Newcastle away, Liverpool away, and Chelsea away in their first 6. But if you can have some rotation in there, maybe it's a defender, maybe it's a cheaper midfielder, maybe it's just Ollie Watkins. Everton at home, Burnley away, Crystal Palace at home seem to be quite good fixtures for him, especially if they don't sign a striker. I can see a lot of teams potentially having Moreno, who is a good asset for those who chose to pick him at the end of last season. Went on a decent bit of a scoring run, and seems to have that place kind of nailed down over Luca Digne, and seems to get taken off sometimes around the 60 to 70 minute mark, which could be beneficial because you could get taken off before the clean sheet wipeout sometimes if you luck out on that one. But overall, I think Aston Villa is not going to be like guaranteed sure shot thing in our teams, but just some decent fixtures in game weeks 2, 3, and 5 to kind of look at, maybe rotation options there. Bournemouth, probably not going to be looking at them. At the time of recording, which is the 19th of June, there was actually, it was Gary O'Neill, I think it was. He got sacked, and they replaced him with apparently a really good tactical manager. I can't pronounce his name for the life of me. I just saw it on Twitter just before I came live. But yeah, they're going to have new management, so maybe more exciting attacking football, which means it could be a bit more open. The fixtures in the beginning, though, however, aren't the greatest. West Ham at home is probably their best fixture. Then they have Liverpool away, Spurs at home, Brentford away, Chelsea at home, Brighton away. Very tough to start off with. So unless you're going for like Solanke and maybe his rotation between like him and another cheaper midfielder, I don't really see us going near Bournemouth off the start. Brentford, Spurs at home, but then a few good fixtures. Fulham away, Crystal Palace at home, Bournemouth at home. Look to be quite good fixtures. Newcastle away is probably the most difficult one in the first 6, and Everton at home. So maybe Brian Mbeumo, depending on his price point. Maybe a Brentford defender with some rotation options there could be on the cards for us. Brighton, who were fantastic last season, were definitely worthy of getting into Europe for this upcoming season, coming 6th in the league. They have Luton at home, one of the newly promoted. Wolves away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, Man United away, Bournemouth at home. So, again, good few fixtures there. Some a little bit more tougher ones with Newcastle and Man United. But overall, it's going to be weird to see kind of what Brighton's prices are going to look like with the fact that they did so well last season. I think the likes of Matoma, instead of being like a 5.5 million midfielder, is going to be more in the 7 million bracket. With Alexis McAllister going to Liverpool, Caicedo potentially leaving to Chelsea, or at least that's the rumors at the moment. It could be a much more depleted Brighton, and with Europe, that could take a toll on their team overall, and maybe they won't be as useful as they were last season, especially around the double game weeks. But we'll have to wait and see. I think there'll be some who will dip into Matoma or whoever off the start because their first 3 fixtures are quite good. Burnley, the unfortunate team here, have to host Man City at Turf Moor, but they do have Luton, Aston Villa, and Spurs, 2 of those being at home versus Aston Villa and Spurs, with Forest away, and then Man United to round out the 6 games. I think in those middling ones, it's potentially an option. Don't really know too much about Burnley other than they are much different than what they were under Sean Dyche. Vincent Kompany has them playing a very attacking style of football, which could prove to be quite costly in the Premier League. We'll have to wait and see how that kind of goes down. We'll do a bit more in-depth on them as the weeks go on and once we get the prices out for players and FPL is live. Chelsea, again, not the greatest fixture to start off with for Maurizio Pochettino, their newly appointed manager, formerly of Spurs. They have Liverpool at home, so not the greatest to start off with, but the 5 fixtures afterwards, West Ham away, Luton at home, Forest at home, Bournemouth away, Aston Villa at home, are going to prove to be one of the better runs you'll get throughout the season, especially Luton and Forest at home in back-to-back games. One thing to also note is that Pochettino does play a 4-2-3-1 style. That is his system that he typically goes with. He has dabbled with back 3, so potentially, depending on where Reece James and Chilwell kind of fit into these systems, they could be good price points, 5.5, maybe even down as low as 5 million with the amount of injuries they've had. We could see them in a lot of early drafts, although Liverpool being the first fixture out the gate, not the greatest. Maybe it might be a wait and see on that one, and we pick them up around game week 3 or 4. Also, it's going to be interesting to see what price Nkunku comes in at, and if he is a forward or a midfielder. Crystal Palace, again, kind of mixed bag here. Maybe a rotation option. Sheffield United away, Wolves at home, Fulham at home could be if you're able to pair it with another team that has good fixtures in game weeks 2, 3, and 5. You could go for a defensive option, maybe a Gehi or an Anderson, or maybe you swap around like Elise or Eze in there with another cheaper midfield. Then we can start to see, you know, things kind of form here. Their price will probably be around 6.5 million, Eze and Elise. I'll probably give the edge to Eze being slightly higher than Elise, just because of his impact. So that would be a pretty good option in midfield, I would think, for those, at least a couple of those good fixtures in the first 6 game weeks. Everton, they are at home to Fulham, with Villa away, Wolves at home, Sheffield United away. Pretty good start to the season for Sean Dyche's Everton. They have to follow it up, though, with Arsenal at home, Brentford away, which isn't the easiest fixtures, but they need a out-and-out striker who's going to provide them goals. Calvert-Lewin doesn't seem to be fit enough, so if they do bring in somebody for that, and they are at a budget price, we might see them pop into a few FPL teams as kind of that third cheap forward in a 3-4-3 style of system, which a lot of managers typically go with at the beginning of the season because we don't have as much budget to go 5 in midfield for the midfielders that we want. Fulham, as we mentioned, they are away at Goodison Park. They have Brentford at home, Arsenal away, Man City away. Not the greatest run off the start. The only one I think you're looking at here is probably Mitrovic, but even then you could probably jump in on him after the Man City game versus Luton and Crystal Palace, I would think. Maybe Andreas Pereira is a budget midfielder, but he's probably not going to be 4.5 million like he was last season. He was priced at that because he was at Man United. Then his transfer to Fulham allowed for him to be a starting number 10 at a very cheap price. So he'll probably be at around the 5.5 million mark next season. Liverpool, Chelsea away, as we mentioned, Bournemouth at home, Newcastle away, Aston Villa at home, Wolves away, West Ham at home. Bit indifferent on these fixtures here. I think a lot of managers are probably going to have Trent Alexander-Arnold, but if he comes in at the 8 million price point, maybe there's some conversations there to potentially cut him from the draft. We'll take a look in our next video on what we can and can't do with drafts on FPL.team site, so make sure to go check that out if you haven't done so. And you can change the prices and everything, and we'll do that, and then also make a draft with the prices on the actual website. So, yeah, I'm a bit indifferent. Salah will probably stay around the 13 to 12.5 million mark. It's going to be him, Kane, and Haaland that you're probably going to go for as your premiums. You'll probably only go with 2 of them. Maybe you might only go with 1 of them, depending on if you want to load up on Arsenal midfielders or Man United or whoever it may be. But yeah, a bit of a mixed bag. Pochettino is a bit more of an attacking-minded manager, so maybe that opens him up at the back a little bit. Playing a back 4 isn't typically in Chelsea's kind of DNA over the past several seasons. So we'll have to wait and see on how that kind of plays out in the first fixture. Bournemouth at home, I mean, we know the infamous Liverpool winning 9-0 with Salah getting no returns. That was an interesting one. And then a few games which Liverpool might have to grind out. Newcastle away, Aston Villa at home, Wolves away, West Ham at home. Could be a bit tricky. Newcomers to the Premier League, Luton have actually not a bad schedule off the start. Brighton away is tough. It's going to be a bit difficult. Burnley at home, again, Championship side, they'll take that. Chelsea away, West Ham at home, Fulham away, Wolves at home. So all in all, not the worst start. Definitely better than Sheffield United's, which we'll come on to in a little bit, or even like Newcastle's or Forest's start to the season. It's a wait and see. I think it's a wait and see. They're probably going to be the most predicted to go straight back down and be 20th in a lot of predictions for different various football outlets that do these sorts of predictions. So I think that they could be under a bit of the cosh from the start. It'll be interesting to see how they perform away from home, how they set up in the first game versus Brighton, because Brighton, as we know, they're going to dominate the ball pretty much against every team that isn't Man City, really. That's just kind of De Zerbi's way of playing. So it'd be interesting to see how they kind of set up there, and maybe it's just kind of a wait and see. Maybe around game week 4, someone emerges as a cheap attacking option, and Luton are much better than we anticipate they're going to be. Then we have the 2 Manchester clubs, Man City and Man United. I mean, Man City's fixtures are pretty good. One thing to note is that they do have 3 away fixtures, especially the Burnley away fixture off the start. I don't believe Erling Haaland played at Turf Moor when they played against Burnley it was either the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure they played at home. So this would be another away ground that he hasn't been to. Same with Bramall Lane. And Haaland wasn't the greatest away from home. So maybe, fingers crossed, we steer away from Haaland on the first game of the season. But probably end up going to go with Haaland anyway. But again, it's Man City, so all their fixtures are pretty good. The Newcastle at home one is going to be a tricky one. But at least it's at home, which kind of benefits them quite a bit. And then Man United, Wolves at Forest, Burnley. 2 of which are at home. A couple of tough away fixtures, as well as hosting Brighton, Spurs, and Arsenal in there. United's fixtures are a bit of a mixed bag. Rashford in these fixtures is probably going to be quite good. He'll probably see a price hike as well. Depending on who the forward is for Man United, it could be a good option that they bring in. If they were to bring in like Harry Kane, he'd probably be our premium, no doubt. Potentially, he would be a better captaincy option than the likes of Haaland. In the opening game week of the season, as well as the 3rd game week of the season when he hosts Forest at home, because I think Kane would just do extremely well at Man United. But Daniel Levy would rather probably let him go for free than sell him to another Premier League rival. Newcastle have a pretty tough start in terms of overall fixtures for the first 6. Aston Villa at home is a good fixture, but then Man City away, Liverpool at home, Brighton away, Brentford at home is quite difficult. Maybe you might go for the likes of Pope, but he's probably going to come in at around 5.5, maybe even 6 million for the amount of saves that he can make. We know that Newcastle's defense can be quite stubborn and doesn't leak very many goals. They had the best not clean sheet record, best goals conceded record, I believe, last season. Trippier will probably see a significant price hike, maybe to 6.5, 6 million, somewhere around that mark. And he might be one where you just kind of not too sure about the clean sheet prospects there. He'll be quite template in the opening few game weeks. But overall, probably not going to be looking at Newcastle initially, unless they make some kind of marquee signing. Like if Sadio Mane comes back, to the Premier League because he's been rumored to go to Newcastle. Maybe that's an option there. Price point depending, obviously. Forest, probably not going to go near them. Arsenal away. They do have Sheffield United at home and Burnley at home, but Man United away, Chelsea away, Man City away in their first 6. That's definitely a no-go for me. Unless you're looking at some heroics from Dean Henderson, and he comes in at 4.5 million, and he does actually get sold to to Nottingham Forest. Sheffield United, who have just been newly promoted as well. Crystal Palace at home, Forest away is not a bad start with Everton at home. But Man City at home, Spurs away, Newcastle at home would probably be kind of a limitation there. Maybe, again, a rotation option in defense. The likes of, it was Baldock, and there was one other defender that were like the flying center backs or whatever they were a few seasons ago. We'll have to take a look at them in preseason and see how they're still playing. I want to say, is it Danny Higginbottom? I could be wrong on that, but I think that's who's still managing them. He was the one who managed them after, like, they had somebody and then they brought him in. They got sent down the championship, and then he's been managing them since, I think. So we'll be interested to see how they play. Probably similar to how they were before they got relegated, I would think. Very sturdy at the back and kind of almost Brentford-esque in a sense. Last 3 here, Spurs. Bit of a mixed bag here. Kind of depends on if Kane's there or not. Brentford away, Man United at home, Bournemouth away, Burnley away, Sheffield United at home. I think those are decent enough fixtures for Harry Kane to be worthy to put into our FPL teams. Remember, there's going to be a Brentford without Ivan Toney, so a lot less threat on the break, as well as Postecoglou, I think is how you pronounce his name, or Postecoglou. One of those two pronunciations is probably close, I would think. He's going to be playing more attack-minded football, so that could help Harry Kane. Me personally, I think if I was him, I would be saying I need to sell Harry Kane. I take the 100 million so I can invest in 2, maybe 3, good quality signings to help strengthen the squad, because he's going to play with Harry Kane for 1 season, and then he's not going to have him because Harry Kane's going to literally leave on a free, which Daniel Levy clearly doesn't care about, which is weird because it seems like a lot of these guys are considered like business people in these higher positions in Premier League clubs, and it doesn't seem like a very good business decision to let Harry Kane go for free. I guess they're going to try to convince him to sign a new contract, but if Man United say, hey, or Newcastle say, hey, here's 350 grand a week with a crazy signing on bonus, I don't think Spurs are going to be able to stop that, but each of their own. Son will probably see a price drop as well. Could be an interesting one there. If he comes in around like 8.5 million, could be maybe a punt to go for in the first few game weeks. West Ham, very rough schedule to start with. Bournemouth away is their best fixture, alongside Luton away. But then they have Chelsea at home, Brighton away, Man City at home, Liverpool away. Going to be a bit tough to go in on West Ham, I would think. And then Wolves, again, not the greatest start either. 4 away fixtures, and then their 2 home fixtures are Brighton at home, Liverpool at home. Probably, I have to see more from Wolves. We jumped in on was it Pedro Neto at the start of last season. Again, I need to see more from Wolves attacking wise. There's kind of muddlings around that Lopetegui, however you pronounce his name, manager of Wolves, is basically not happy with the hierarchy and just is not impressed at all with the transfer dealings and how they've been kind of working things out. So we could see him swiftly moved on if the results don't go their way, or he just basically gets fed up. So that is all the fixtures there. So I'm going to sort by difficulty, and we can see that Arsenal, Man City, and Chelsea are quite towards the top. Luton, as we mentioned, very favorable. Liverpool, a little bit further down, same with Man United. But then you look at the likes of West Ham, Forest, Newcastle. Again, not the greatest fixtures off the start. One thing to also note is some key kind of clashes towards the as the season goes on. So in these opening 6, we have the likes of Arsenal playing Man United in game week 4. I believe that's going to be before an international break. I have the fixtures for Man United. This is on Sky Sports' website. So Man United's opening game of the season is a Monday night. Then they play the Saturday. Then it's the international break after 4 game weeks. They come back. They play Brighton, Burnley, Palace, Brentford, then an international break again. So it's an international break between game week 4 and 5, and in between game week 8 and 9. Is there another international break here? They play Saturday, 11th. Yeah, it looks like another international break after. It looks like between 11 and 12 maybe, or something like that. Could be wrong on that one. And then there's obviously the Christmas period fixtures. So Man United play Liverpool on the 16th of December before the start of the Christmas period. So that would probably be one thing to kind of take a look at. Let's see here. So that was United plays. Whenever United play Liverpool, let's take a look at that. So let's move this to game week 15. So the Christmas period would be up until and including when United play. So apparently, I guess there's an international break after New Year's, or United just don't play, or they play on the 30th. I'm not sure. Up until when United play Forest. So when do United play Forest? Manchester United. Forest. Okay, so this is kind of like the Christmas period here. So the key clashes, if there are any, City don't play anyone, difficult, but there's probably going to be mass rotation in their team. Spurs play Newcastle and Brighton. Man United, we play Liverpool. So that's one kind of key clash. Brighton play Arsenal. Liverpool play United and Arsenal in back-to-back weeks for at Anfield. Game week 18. That would be when United play. When play West Ham. So that would be just before the Boxing Day fixtures. So the Boxing Day fixtures are all these ones here. So no real key clashes there, but some key ones before it as well. If we go into the run-in for the at the end of the season, so let's go to game week 34-ish. Game week 34 to 38. Man City have to go to Spurs. Spurs have to play Arsenal at home. They have to go to Liverpool. That's an interesting one. We also have Arsenal have to go away to Man United on the second to last game week of the season. That could be a bit tough. Chelsea have to go away to Brighton. What about Liverpool? I think Liverpool's run to the end of the season. Yeah, they get Spurs at home. So again, there's still they kind of spread them out a little bit. Apart from Spurs towards the end here, they have some pretty 3 tough games in a row, but then they have 2 real easy ones to end the season, in theory. Last day of the season, though, we have Luton, Fulham at home. It's probably as good of a fixture as you could possibly have if they're still fighting around the bottom, or if they need to get a win or a result in the last day. Aston Villa Palace, kind of whatever game. Everton away at Arsenal. That could be tricky if they're still back down in the relegation fight. Brentford and Newcastle, I would suspect, could be fighting for one of those European places, potentially. Man City at home to West Ham, pretty comfortable for them. Wolves at home, Liverpool at home to Wolves, pretty comfortable for them. Sheffield United at home to Tottenham could be maybe tricky if they're around at the bottom. Chelsea, again, probably one of the easier fixtures that you can get. Although Bournemouth might need something on the final day of the season, who knows? Brighton play Man United. Very difficult fixture for Man United on the final day if they need a result. And Man United are away from home, which is not the ideal situation there. Man United's last 2 games of the season are quite rough, but if they have the good fixtures beforehand, then they probably could potentially get themselves secured in the top 4 again by the time those last 2 fixtures roll around. West Ham, unfortunately for them, they have Man City away on the final day of the season. Not the greatest, but if they're already secure, then the fixture's kind of whatever at that point. So you saw me flash up on the screen here. This is Ben Krellin on Twitter here. If you haven't followed Ben Krellin, make sure to do so at Ben Krellin. BenCrellin. He's given us some key dates here. So, game week 18. So, if we look at game week 18 for Man United, let's move this back here on the ticker. Game week 18 is December 23rd. That is the games before the Boxing Day period. Man Man City, if we look at Man City, where's Man City? Man City, here they are scheduled to play Brentford at home on this date. However, it'll be a blank for both of those teams because that is when the Club World Cup is played. That is when the team that won the Champions League, which would be Man City in this instance, plays the team that won the Europa League in like kind of a one-off game. I think it was Sevilla. So they'd be playing each other at a neutral venue of some kind for the Club World Cup. So Man City and Brentford will have a blank there at a bare minimum. There might be a fixture thrown in there if Brentford have a fixture postponed due to weather or something like that. You know, maybe it becomes like a small double or something. But the likelihood is going to be a blank for those two teams. Game week 26, that is the Carabao Cup final or League Cup final. If we look at game week 26 on the ticker here, let's move it along here down the bottom. February 24th. If we look at the Carabao Cup final for these fixtures, so the teams that are likely to potentially be in the Carabao Cup final could be the likes of Liverpool, who host Luton. Spurs host Chelsea. They might be in it. Who knows? Man United host Fulham. Or Spurs are away to Chelsea, sorry. Man City are away to Bournemouth. Those teams probably ones to kind of look out for. That will be a blank game week for those two teams and whoever they play because of the League Cup final. There will also be blanks in game week 29 for the FA Cup quarterfinals and probably blanks in game week 32, possibly 33, somewhere around that mark for the FA Cup semi-finals. And the FA Cup is after the season's over, so that doesn't really matter. But game week 29 is kind of the crucial one. Game week 29 will be, let me just see the date exactly, March 16th. That week, we have the likes of Man City away to Brighton. We have Newcastle away to Palace. United are at home to Sheffield United. Spurs are away to Fulham. Everton, that's the Merseyside derby, so that could potentially be moved back towards the end of the season, as the likelihood is these fixtures will probably be moved to game week, the midweek in game week 37 potentially. But again, that's still a kind of a wait and see. Chelsea are away to Arsenal. That could be a crucial one there too. So those three game weeks are definitely going to be blank game weeks this coming calendar year for the Premier League and FPL. The big double game week is probably going to be game week 37. All things assuming it is normal. Game week 37 is the weekend and the midweek before the final game week of the season. In game week 38, there's going to be another mini double game week, probably around maybe the 34 mark, or maybe in the post kind of Christmas period, potentially in the earlier months there. 34 could be like a blank and double game week, as we mentioned. That could be the FA Cup semi-final type fixtures, where the team's playing in the FA Cup semi-final. But those that are also knocked out of the FA Cup semi-final that have one that was removed from the quarterfinal. So as an example, let's say Liverpool, let's see, let's go to, was it game week 29? There could be postponements. Let's see who the Liverpool play. Liverpool are supposed to play Everton, right? So let's say if in game week 34, Liverpool have, since which won, they're in this FA Cup semi-final, which postpones, they postpone the Everton fixture, but Everton and whoever they're supposed to play in 34, as an example, which would be, where's Everton? Everton. There's Everton. Everton's supposed to play Forest. So they could also, if that fixture, Liverpool got knocked out of the competition or whatever, they could potentially play both fixtures in that one. But it kind of depends on where they want to shift them. If they are, typically what they do is a lot of these quarterfinal fixtures, they just take them and shove them into the midweek. Oops, didn't want to do that. Put them back into this game week 37. But it depends on who their opponents are and if they're both out of the cup competitions, basically. I probably worded that a bit weird, but short and long of it is, as long as both teams are out of the competition, you could probably rearrange the fixture into a week where they don't have a fixture, or a midweek where they don't have a fixture either. So, pretty interesting stuff there. But those are some of the key dates. But yeah, that is the season ticker on Fantasy Football Scouts. Make sure to check them out. Link is down in the description below. They will probably have some kind of preseason offer as well, probably when FPL is launched, which should be in a few weeks' time, I would think, probably first or second week of July. So make sure to check out FPL when it does come out. Make sure to check out Fantasy Football Scout when it does come out. And that's going to do it for our fixtures announcement here. In the next video, we're going to be taking a look at FPL.team. And we're going to be taking a look at some price predictions and that sort of stuff, and try to see if we can build a draft based on the knowledge that we've now gained from the newly released fixtures. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Scout members area, the one place that you need to be tuned into for the upcoming FPL season. It has a wide variety of resources and tools that will help improve your FPL game today. It has a bunch of different members-only articles written by some of the best FPL managers across the globe, heat maps for all the players and positions, as well as player comparison tools, which will help you see side by side who is going to be more effective for your FPL team, fully customizable stats tables powered by Opta stats, and much, much more. Use the link down in the description below so that you can get access to the Fantasy Football Scout members area today. It'll help improve your FPL game. And that's going to do it for the fixture announcement for the 23-24 FPL season. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, comment down below as to what teams you're interested in the start of the season. Who do you think is going to get promoted, relegated, all that sort of fun stuff. Those predictions are always fun to look back on if you do them super early enough. We will be looking at how I did on my predictions in a future video as well. As mentioned, we also are going to be looking at a draft on FPL.team's website, as well as how to fix Manchester United. Those are just a few of the videos coming in this pre-season. Make sure to follow us over on Twitter and Twitch as well. PilotFlame226 on those platforms. We do our streams over on Twitch, and we do all of our YouTube content and VODs put up on YouTube, and we kind of post announcement stuff on Twitter. So make sure to check us out there. Check out Fantasy Football Scout, as mentioned before. They have fantastic stuff, as well as the season ticker that you saw on today's video. Thank you for watching, and until next one, take care.